Okay, we're back. Welcome back to the Temporal Anomalies Season 2, Week 1, in the round of 32. This is Shadow333 presenting this Temporal Anomalies Season 2, Week 1, round of 32. Little deja vu. So we had, the first game was Big Boy 36 versus Nail, which Big Boy won 2-0, but Nail put up a very impressive fight against that, so entertaining matches. Go watch them if you haven't yet. And now we have Stakhanov versus wHatShisfAcE. This is going to be another series between... Well, actually, now Stakhanov is actually a really well-known player. He's been here, I think, longer than I have, and very clever, very well-known for being skilled in chrono rushing and similar crazy strategies like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what he comes up with and what he does here, but I don't know... Or sorry, not chrono rushing so much, it's just general chronoport shenanigans. I don't know what he's going to come up with, but it should be entertaining. And that will be that'll be a very interesting match. So we will see what goes on there and start the game. So, yeah, oh, shall I get the sound on? So this is the first game. It is on Felsic Inferno. And we have wHatShisfAcE in the bottom right corner, and Stakhanov, yellow in the bottom left corner. Stakhanov has not chosen his race yet. He is currently choosing and making it well known as a tournament match. So Stakhanov is CISO, wHatShisfAcE is also CISO. So it's a CISO mirror at this point. Wow. I never thought I'd ever say that, but yes, it is a CISO mirror. In case you were wondering, in the past, Grekim was one of the more powerful races, and we were always seeing Grekim mirrors. And nowadays, Vecure is a very popular race, so we're often seeing Vecure mirrors. So a CISO mirror. That's new. I like that. I haven't seen CISO mirrors a lot, so that'll be very interesting. Of course, it may not actually be a CISO mirror, but it looks like both players are building up economy, so they appear to be committing to this build. They don't seem to be just going for it as an echo attack or echo attack base. Therefore, CISO versus CISO. Seems pretty safe to say. And Stakhanov, wHatShisfAcE both going for economy builds. wHatShisfAcE is going for more of a QP-oriented build, while Stakhanov is going more for LC-oriented. So Stakhanov not going for heavy infantry, he's not going for heavy importers. Probably will be getting some mechs if he's going a factory soon, or if he's getting importers, then he's simply going for a more of a safe, later game-focused attack. And Felsic Inferno is definitely a map that allows for a lot of late game. It's one of the most resource-intensive maps. It's one of the few maps that actually has 6 LC and 3 QP in the main base. Most maps have only 5 LC and 3 QP. And the expansions are also very hefty. And we see that there is actually an attack that will be going on fairly soon. wHatShisfAcE scouting forces will be coming in and attacking the mid-ground forces that are coming in from Stakhanov. Stakhanov was just keeping the forces in the middle, and we'll be seeing a Marine coming in from wHatShisfAcE, so knowing that wHatShisfAcE is now playing CISO. wHatShisfAcE, from his point of view, is going a bit more... Well, he's going a bit more for aggression, probably, and probably for tech. One early QP means it's easier to get higher tech faster, getting machinery-based units. And he was also getting an importer, but it looks like he's jumping back and maybe changing around his strategy. No, it just looks like he's reviewing. Getting back that Marine, so he avoids losing that one Marine in the past, so that attack will be echoed out once this green time wave comes along. Or, yes, there it goes. So the damage has been echoed out. And a factory and importer coming in, so we see that wHatShisfAcE is definitely going more for a vehicle route, not an infantry route, though he is still getting infantry. While Stakhanov is with an importer, and back at his point of view, we see that at the 147 mark, when he's focused, he is getting more QP as well, so he doesn't seem to be going for... Well, at this point he could be going for ground units and still going for an infantry-heavy strategy, but he hasn't committed to vehicles or infantry at this point. And wHatShisfAcE also not really committing too much to vehicles. One factory isn't really committing. You can still get a lot of armories and still go heavy infantry with a bit of vehicle support from there. And Stakhanov is going for a mid-ground armory. How did I miss that? Stakhanov is going for a mid-ground armory and mid-ground factory. So this is where all of his expenditure is going. He is focused entirely on a proxy attack and trying to choke off the lower, basically the lower access point. Because Felsic, you can go through above this lava section here, or you can go above the hole in the rock. But this is the easiest path to go through, and unless you're actually telling your units to go around the long way, they're going to take this path. So Stakhanov choking out the main access point between the two sides and choking out his opponent very effectively from that half of the map. Of course, That being said, he's still going to have to make sure to defend it, and it looks like Nail may, or what's-his-face, sorry, may become aware of this very quickly, and it doesn't matter. What's-his-face isn't doing anything right now, but back when he is, what's-his-face is focused on this point in the past. He is focused on, getting a Lancer. He's getting hit by a Lancer. Stakhanov is actually coming in for harassment, and Stakhanov's mid-ground factories are going to be paying off at the 357 mark. Back at the 258 mark, we see that the factories are still being built up and are getting their units. Stakhanov is getting machinery and is getting 2 HHCs as well, while more special ops coming in from what's-his-face, getting mechs as well. So, given the way he's going, I wouldn't be surprised if he started getting macrofabs, but I kind of doubt it. He doesn't have enough QP to really support it. This Marine going to the north will be able to build some expansions, or expansion RPs, and from those, he will be able to get enough resources to make effective use of macrofabs. But honestly, I think he's just trying to get the mechs for the anti-air capability, getting an armory as well. And ATHCs are going to be what's coming in, not Lancers. So both Stakhanov and Nail have gone for the Lancer ATHC feint, or going for Lancers and then feinting that out for ATHCs, which is useful, actually, because if your opponent's committing to anti-air, they're probably not committing to cloak detection at that point. You're going to be able to deal with it very effectively. That being said, unless you're dealing with Grekim, in which case their main cloak detection is also anti-air, at least their main pod class cloak detection. So, it's interesting. Well, okay, it's still switching out. It's switching out Lancers, and Lancers, fairly useful harassment unit, but it's switching it for ATHCs, which require a completely different counter. Stakhanov just double-checking the far flung future. Not really do too much there. And what's-his-face at the present is going to be starting to attack, or sending out a Scouting Force Marine. Not doing too much with it, just one Marine. And has a Lancer of his own as well. However, these special ops, like I said, the HHC, if they ever come in, and which they, I'm sure, will very shortly, once those HHCs come in, the special ops will be his best defense, and the turret is also going to be useful. A Tornado or two would not be unwelcome right now. ATHCs, of course, being cloaked units, Tornadoes being cloaked detectors, and air-based cloak detectors, so ATHCs is going to have a bit of a harder time dealing with that, because ATHCs are not quite as effective against air. It's pretty close to call, but they're still not quite as effective. And a factory coming in the northeast for what's-his-face, Stakhanov on the other hand, back at the 447 mark about the same time. He is actually going to be getting attacked very heavily, so what's-his-face is going for an attack, is going to try to deal with this expansion here, and has just paused. Sorry, from Stakhanov's point of view. Stakhanov has paused and trying to figure out what's going on, getting back to when he's probably in the best position to keep his ATHCs at home to defend against this wall. What's-his-face, from his point of view, is dealing a ton of damage. What's-his-face's attack, if it goes through, will be able to deal quite a bit of damage, getting rid of the infantry, and actually losing a fair amount of infantry as well. The Special Ops doing a very good job healing that one Marine before they died. While jumping back, Stakhanov has actually changed up his tactic, moving ATHCs in to intercept the attack before it happens at the 454 mark, but actually echoing that out, so Stakhanov has not, in fact, gone back to the ATHCs. He is setting them up for defense. He only had the interception as an echo. So Stakhanov is doing a pretty good job keeping what's-his-face on his toes, the attack, but what's-his-face still sees the ATHCs are actually near the proxy, not near his own base, so he will be able to deal with this rather effectively. Stakhanov, on the other hand, is once again going down to intercept. He is actually committing to the interception again, further away from what's-his-face's base. And what's-his-face moving into the Lancer, not actually attacking with it directly, just moving up, trying to figure out what's going on in the north, and actually harassing this area in the northwest. Not of much use, however. What he really needs that Lancer for is extra support. I mean, yes, okay, harassing this Marine could get rid of it and prevent an expansion in the northwest in the near future. But frankly, I think if he loses the game, it doesn't matter. If he loses the game to 4 ATHCs, that's going to make no difference to that Lancer. And here we are. We have ATHCs and mechs. No Tornadoes, like I said. That really would be a good idea. I'm surprised he hasn't gone for it. And it looks like a comm center will be built up fairly shortly. Yes, it is. Comm center is being built up. No artillery, however, is in play, so I'm not sure exactly what the use of this would be. There isn't anything using Smart Idol, and cloak detection is not really in place, so higher vision range from the comm center will not be of that much use. I don't know how what's-his-face plans to get out of this without building extra production capabilities. He doesn't even have a whole lot of resources to even support that production. So what's-his-face is in an incredibly tight spot. These 40 HGs from the proxy base, and here we are. Now this is becoming an expansion. Now and of course this is why the Lancer came around to harass that Marine. But really it doesn't make much of a difference. Stakhanov is in a great position, dealing tons of damage, getting through it. He is actually starting to get stopped though at the ramp up to what's-his-face's base. And of course, this turret is going to be a real pain, but Stakhanov, despite this, is still going to be able to get... He has ground units, he has machinery, he's going to be able to get a lot of resources and expand around the map. And he has just now pulled through what's-his-face's units. This is what's-his-face's point of view near the unplayable past. Being able to push through these units, and really, this will be deciding it for Stakhanov. So Stakhanov, back to his point of view, and this is further in the past as well. So we're at the 6:32 mark right now, 6:15 mark actually, jump back 15 seconds. And getting tanks on top of what he has already, getting 2 tanks and ATHCs. So this will be going in Stakhanov's favor easily. I don't see what's-his-face pulling out of this very easily. Factory in the northeast might be of some use, but what's-his-face is not making use of it. He does have the resources to do it at the 7:02 mark, but no, he is GG! So that is extremely fast game. I don't think I've ever seen a game settled that quickly. I am shocked? Yeah, I don't know. That was just weird. I did not expect that to be so quick, but, well, there you go. So that was the first game between what's-his-face and Stakhanov, and really, that's no... Sorry, just... Between what's-his-face, whoever he is, I don't know, some guy. So that was the first match, and now we will be going on to map 2, which is... Well, once the game is actually over, then we'll be going on to map 2. Once they actually surrender and finished up. Stakhanov, of course, just wants to finish this up. Both players just talking about what they were up to, and that will be, yeah, Comm Center. Well, okay, I suppose Comm Center might have been useful if he had artillery or something to really make use of that vision, but Comm Center for Smart Idle or Auto Hierarchy, he's not using it for either, as we can see. Both of them are off. So, not really too much happening, and yeah, that's the game. So Stakhanov just, or sorry, so what's-his-face, just double check what's going on. Stakhanov is going to be able to completely destroy this. He's just continuing his attack, and yeah, that was the game. So game 1, short game, shows the power of proxy strategies, and I really didn't expect that on Felsic Inferno of all places, given the amount of resources this map has. But yeah, so that is... Well, that's game 1, certainly setting the tone of the upcoming match. Or the current match, I should say. And that is going to be as soon as the surrender actually happens. Yeah, the game actually gonna, well, we can see pretty clearly that it's done. Actually, no, I suppose we can. This factory is still up here, and it's not going to be doing too much, but it's going to be... There we go. Okay, now it's over. Okay, good. Alright, so that was game 1, and we will be moving on to game 2 on Chilled Gasket, which is a... Oh, whoops. On Chilled Gasket, which is a particularly new map. I don't think you've actually ever seen it really on competitive play. Never really seen it much in competitive play. And it will be very interesting. It's a 3-player map. As we can see on here, the start locations, denoted by the red, green, blue on the mini-map, are radially symmetric. The map, of course, being a 3-player map, will only have 2 of the spots occupied by the players. The 3rd spot will be empty, and the locations will be randomly assigned, as usual. So that will be the next game coming up. So let's get this all set up, and then once that happens, we will be moving on. So game 2, starting up right now. So Stakhanov versus what's-his-face is the Temporal Anomalies Season 2 tournament. If you just joined us right now, this is match 2 of the round of 32, first week. This is Stakhanov versus what's-his-face. Currently, Stakhanov has been leading this 1-0. What's-his-face very quickly going for CISO. Incredibly quickly. Stakhanov has not chosen his race yet. Stakhanov also CISO, so it looks like it's going to be a CISO mirror for this match as well. And yes, this is Shadow Fury 33 casting this Temporal Anomaly Season 2 tournament. The tournament is starting this week. It will be ongoing for the next 5 weeks as we eliminate more and more people until finally we get down to the finals and see who wins this Temporal Anomaly Season 2 tournament, which the prize is a copy of Achron. How redundant. So, what's-his-face building 4 RPs. And it looks like he's probably going to build an importer as well. Building 4 RPs, and here we are, an importer. So yes, he is going for the faster, more aggressive opener. Actually, very quick getting a 5th RP. No, he's queuing a 5th RP, but he won't actually build it. He's only going to build 4 RPs ultimately. Stakhanov, on the other hand, once again going for 6 RPs on LC. So Stakhanov going for more of an economy build, and also moving a Marine right to his backdoor expansion. Should probably actually point out, because this map is pretty new. So the way the map works out, as I mentioned, there's the main bases here, and of course an empty base over in the north. Each base has a backdoor expansion, which has 3 LC and 2 QP, and of course this is a much less resource-intensive map than Felsic Inferno. And in between the expansions, there's also naturals, right in between each expansion, or sorry, in between each main, and then a nice little giant QP crate in the middle. Here we are, Skana's forces coming in. A Marine and Special Ops will be scouting out at the 139 mark, and what's-his-face, of course, already sees this happening. This is, on the timeline, I should say, he sees the attack coming in, dealing enough damage to be worrisome, but, of course, he's managed to take it out, and pretty handily, too. His own scouting Marine is coming in, and he does know now, of course, that Stakhanov is playing CISO. Stakhanov is, from his point of view, mostly building RPs. He hasn't built any importers yet, just completely building RPs, focusing entirely on his economy, trying to distract with this opening scout rush. Not really going to do too much with it, though, and hopefully for his sake he actually echoes that out, because that rush is just going to be a dead Marine and SOP. I don't see a whole lot of timing really gained from that. Of course, if what's-his-face is scared of... Ah, here we are. It is echoed out. Wonderful. Okay, so Stakhanov has echoed out this attack, set it up for defense. So what's-his-face is still going to be having to worry about this, but it is not ultimately going to happen. So what's-his-face at a slight, actually fairly large, 1 minute initiative disadvantage, moving his Marine over to the middle expansion right here between his Bane and the empty north. Building an importer as well, so 2 importers and 5 RPs. Certainly looks like he's going for an infantry-heavy strategy, given what he has so far, but he could also be going for rather RP-heavy as well as Stakhanov, so both players appear to be going heavily for their economy. However, this Marine in the middle expansion not doing too much at this point. Stakhanov is going to be actually a bit behind from the looks of it. See, from his point of view, Stakhanov is actually building up a factory. No importers yet, or sorry, 2 importers. He's building importers as natural. Backdoor expansion. And building up more RPs. Once again, a lot more RPs. So he has about 6 RPs in QP and 9 on LC. That's fairly large. That's, well, of course, that's 2 bases worth. So he should be able to get about 3 or 4 factories, maybe a macrofab or 2, with the importers to be able to produce the units that he needs to win. What's-his-face, on the other hand, focusing more on the importers, less on the RPs. Only 5 RPs in LC, but 2 importers in the factory. He'll probably be able to build units faster. However, he does have mechs coming out at this point, not anything else. Another factory in that middle expansion. And those another RPs coming in. So what's-his-face a bit behind on RPs still. Only 2 in QP and 5 in LC. And this is at the 350 mark. And Stakhanov is actually about the 304 mark. And at the 304 mark, he does have more of each. So Stakhanov is definitely ahead in economy, but a bit behind in reserves. However, CISO, with only 1 factory, isn't that limited by reserves, and mechs are, of course, going to be useful against anti-air. Sorry, against air, not against anti-air. Get useful anti-air. What's-his-face jumping back to the 223 mark, getting another armory. So, focusing a bit more on the infantry production, probably going for a combined mech vehicle assault. Probably with ATHCs and Spec Ops Marines, probably not with tanks, but if he does go with tanks and start doing riding tanks, I will be incredibly impressed, because that is something that people have been talking about doing since version 1020 came out, and I haven't seen yet. So that'd be pretty cool if he did that. And the factory in this middle expansion has been cancelled or undone by lack of resources in favor of this armory. So what's-his-face, however, is not being able to build these RPs either. He's run out of the chrono, or the LC to do that. In the past, he needs the chrono energy, however, to do this, and he has the chrono energy if he wants to redo these orders, which he's going to do right now. And it looks like he's trying to build that factory as well. He does want this factory in the north, but probably a better idea to have this armory here just for the time being. A bit faster to have this, and a mech. The mech building an armory, or trying to, but the mech not able to do so. Probably for the best. It's fairly expensive to build an armory by mech. It's 90 LC instead of 60 LC for a Marine. And Stakhanov, on the other hand, building a macrofab. We'll be building another macrofab soon at 343 mark. Well, okay, in the past relative to the other macrofab. So now the 345 mark, about the 4-minute mark, it looks like he's building that macrofab. And building a defense turret as well. So definitely making use of that mech and making use of his machinery upgrade. And a comm center on his ramp on the side of what's-his-face, just to double check, make sure he has better knowledge of what is coming into his base. like to see that. I really enjoy seeing comm centers around the map. It's nice when players have good map awareness. So good to see. And more imports coming in at his middle expansion. So both players taking the expansions to the north. Neither player has tried to take the main to the north, however, which is obviously a lot harder to split, because it's basically once you have the main, you have the back door. If you don't have one and have the other, it's a bit hard to hold. And if each player is sharing it, that's not going to be a sharing for long. And Stakhanov trying to see if backdoor for what's-his-face is being used, but what's-his-face has not made use of his backdoor. He's completely focused on this expansion to the north, and Stakhanov has seen it. The Lancer does know what's going on, so Stakhanov has a really good idea of what what's-his-face is up to. What's-his-face, on the other hand, does not know as well what Stakhanov is up to. He knows, obviously, that the main base is hard to get into, because he's tried, but he doesn't seem to know what else is going on, so Stakhanov will be at an advantage scouting-wise. A Marine is going to be coming in and seeing Stakhanov's north base, while what's-his-face has jumped back to just double-check what's going on. There is an attack in the past, but not particularly a long one. And what's-his-face also turning on auto-hierarchy, so much less current energy for hierarchy setup, getting this mech as his main commander, and building another factory, another armory as well. No, 2 more armories. And once again, from the mech, like I said, not the best idea. If you have Marines to build armories, use them. It costs 30 less LC, and that, at this point in time, as we can see, 50 LC right now. So definitely worth doing. That's about 42 seconds less RP time used for that one armory. Stakhanov, on the other hand, and by the way, it's at the 617 mark, Stakhanov, on the other hand, has his armory and 2 importers, and the north, and his backdoor expansion, another 2 importers, and 2 macro fabs, and this is where it's really going to shine out. He does have Mar-tanks coming out. The Mar-tanks are set up, more Mar-tanks, and Blackbirds as well, and here we are. Stakhanov's signature unit, the Blackbird. He loves these things. Flying healer units, can't say I blame him. And we will certainly see them put to good use. I have not seen Blackbirds used in a long time, but of course it's probably because I haven't watched a lot of Stakhanov games in a long time, because he loves these things. So, attack coming in from What's-His-Face. He does see that the North expansion has been taken. What's-His-Face, at his point in time, the 731 mark, sees that attack coming in, and will be building some more Tornads, getting Tornads mechs, mostly mechs. Has machinery of his own and hasn't actually used it for anything. He does have a lot of air and mech coming in, infantry coming in. Really good idea now would either be, well, probably just continue building up, although a direct assault might actually be profitable at this point. This Mar-tank is in a decent spot to defend the ramp, but if he were to attack from the north, or attack this expansion right here, that might actually be profitable. However, Stakhanov is at the 620 mark, and it looks like he's going to be preparing for that, getting gate tech for himself, and he will be moving out with Lancers and Blackbirds to attack the northwest expansion. We'll be able to take care of this Tornado, no problem with the Lancers and Blackbirds. And this Marine is also getting attacked at 646 marks. This is about 30 seconds before this Marine actually saw this expansion, or maybe a minute actually. And the Tornado is going to be going down fairly shortly. Actually, no, it's putting up a good fight, but the Blackbird will be finishing it off. And now these factories are going to be going down quite shortly, and the RPs as well being closed up. So what's-his-face getting a lot of his production undone, but thankfully most of his main production was in his main base, so he will not be in a terrible spot when it comes to actually fighting back. He's sending forward some forces at the 633 mark in advance of the attacks, but unfortunately not really able to get there fast enough, I'm afraid. Lancers and Blackbirds are incredibly quick, and of course the ground units are a lot slower, especially infantry and mechs have to walk all the way over, while these guys can just fly over. So the Tornado will be lost. Another Tornado coming in to help support, dealing with the Blackbird. And the Blackbird will be probably destroyed fairly quickly. So it looks like what's-his-face will be able to save his base. So Stakhanov's attack won't be of much use, but it will still be a distraction, which, of course, is good in its own. A Chronoporter coming in as well for Stakhanov, so now meta time really matters. And if Stakhanov can make use of that Chronoporter, gets the units back here, and actually get them back in for support, then we will see this working out incredibly well. Frigates coming in as well. And we're now at the 657 mark. Looks like Stakhanov is probably preparing to figure out when he's going to Chronoport back units. And he has definitely got that Chronoport in the future, and that's going to be a huge threat. But what's-his-face so far has managed to deflect off these Blackbird and Lancer, so that will be undone for Stakhanov. That attack, not particularly profitable. So yeah, what's-his-face definitely has a lot of attack power on his side. Stakhanov, at this point, his main advantage is going to be that Chronoporter that he built right here. Once he gets that set up, he will be able to start sending back units and supporting that attack. Might actually be able to make it work out, though unfortunately being that he undid it in the unplayable past, won't be as useful. So 3 Blackbirds and a Lancer coming in. And now the Chronoporter gate is ready. It is recharging. Once it's fully charged, it will be useful and will become an incredibly dangerous asset for Stakhanov. While what's-his-face is trying to still set up his defenses, and he does have really well set up defenses. If an unplayable pass attack does happen, his defenses should be able to hold it up at least for a little while, enough to buy him some time. The mechs, great anti-air, lots of power in the Marines. However, this North expansion, only 2 mechs and 2 Lancers, with all the Blackbirds and Frigates and Lancers coming in that are likely to come in from Stakhanov, I don't see it working out especially well for him. And Stakhanov appears to be setting up his chronoports now, and will be not chronoporting. Nope. No, I was wrong. He's not actually chronoporting yet. He is still setting up a lot of his base, getting more Mars, and now he's paused. I think this pause will probably be the chronoport pause. There we go. Huge chrono energy expenditure, and I think this is going to be the pause we've been waiting for. And just double checking what what's-his-face is up to. What's-his-face is currently setting up more defenses. Certainly got himself really well set up for defense. He's anticipating this attack, and for good reason. There is a chronoport attack coming in. Stakhanov has chronoported back. Chronoport back, Lancers, 2 Lancers, 2 Blackbird, and... No, it's Lancers Black from the original. Sorry, he's chronoported back 4 Blackbirds, a frigate, and looks like 2 frigates on top of that as well. Coming into the main base, trying to deal with damage they can. What's-his-face has prepped his defenses, but a little bit too late, or about 3 minutes too late, actually. So What's-his-face is in a really bad spot, while Stakhanov is focused a bit further in the future. Getting Mar tanks as well. Looks like he's going to be, once his chronoport is done recharging, sending those back in time as well. We'll see a pause, we'll see the chronoport line, and that will be another chronoport sent back for him. So, what's-his-face, now I'm going to deal with this red time wave here, coming in with a giant attack on his main base. I think his defenses were set up well enough, but let's just see. And yes, we are seeing what's-his-face does have his defenses not as well as he was like. This factory is going to be going down shortly. Blackbird Lancer was defended, but unfortunately his forces are going to be taking a while to get back to where he wants to be. So, this is going to be very difficult for what's-his-face to deal with, and just going to double check what's going on. So, the red time wave, the Blackbird's coming in, destroying this comm center, destroying that factory that was up there before, and both players are going to be having to deal with this attack coming in, and that's going to be very powerful. See, this red time wave still coming through. What's-his-face does not have gate tech yet, so he's going to have to deal with this with what he had, and then try to just buy what time he can. At this point, he can't. This factory's gone. He can't really use it. He can't use it back when he was in the playable past. And if he has used it so far, that's going to be undone. So he has to deal with that. And Stakhanov sending back even more in time to deal with everything. He has. Let's see. Where are the 2 Mar tanks? Because I'm pretty sure that's what was sent back. Yes, Mar tanks coming in from the back door expansion to deal with this from the back. So the defense, even if they were out here for the front, which actually they appear to be quite successful ultimately, they're still going to be useless in the back. So these Mar tanks are going to be sealing it, I think, for Stakhanov. If they don't, then what's-his-face may actually have a comeback opportunity. What's-his-face does have quite a bit of resources, but unfortunately for him, he's not focusing on the playable paths. He really should just be ignoring the unplayable paths. He knows that stuff has gone down, stuff he doesn't want. All he can really do now is set up either backup expansions and start chronoporting back from there, or just set up backup expansions and start attacking Stakhanov's base directly. Try to get rid of this chronoporter so that none of the chronoports actually ultimately happen. Paradox it out. 50% chance of winning, but at least it's better than 0% chance with what he has now. So, what's-his-face does not seem to be going for gate tech at this point. More focused on getting more production, while Stakhanov is definitely focused on gate tech, definitely focused on chronoporting, and sending even more back. So these Mar tanks, just double checking on the blue time wave, will be dealing a huge amount of damage, destroying this entire backside of the base. And what's-his-face sending back units to deal with it, but unfortunately not, once again, not enough in time. And the chronoporter once again has become charged up and will be used. Looks like these frigates most likely, and once that happens, we'll see more and more in Stakhanov's favor, more and more of this game going in Stakhanov's favor, while what's-his-face continues to take damage and lose production structures right from under his feet, so he won't be able to use them at all. Running out of chrono energy of his own, he really should be getting gate tech. He doesn't have... He has backup armory. This armor right here should be getting gate tech. I am really kind of surprised he isn't getting gate tech, but he isn't. And this, he really should be getting gate tech. I don't know why he's not getting gate tech, because he is in a dire position as it is, and he has plenty of resources to do so. So Stakhanov, on the other hand, has his Mars coming in, dealing with the main base, having no troubles dealing with his main base. While, on the other hand, what's-his-face is going to be just having no luck at all dealing with this, and actually focused heavily on the present, though not really doing too much with it. So Stakhanov, once again, going back, just double-checking what he has in the past. A Blackbird coming in for what's-his-face will be able to defend against these Martanks, but once again, it's still too late. More production coming in the present, so what's-his-face is definitely focused on using the present for his macro, which is, of course, what you should be doing, but once again, he really needs to get Gate Tech when he can, the earliest he can get it, and start sending back units, get rid of this Chronoporter, at least, that will at least delay what Stakhanov has, maybe throw something into a paradox state, but he hasn't done that. He is jumping back, however, and he may be doing that at this point in time. He does have 235 QP. If he just gets enough more, about, I think, 2 or 3 cycles more of QP, he will be able to, yes, 257 is what you need, so 3 more cycles of QP, he will be able to take it. Unfortunately, he did lose the QPRPs that were here, and that's going to be a huge blow. So unfortunately, he's going to be able to deal with that, and now Stakhanov is surprised he's not sending anything back yet, but he will be sending something back soon, I'm sure. He does have tons of production going on, lots of factories building up, and from there he'll be able to get massive production going. Definitely has the 38 reserves. What's-his-face has no importers in play. He really needs to get some more of those. Very important for CISO. I believe I mentioned this before. They're incredibly important. They are the thing that CISO needs. A big bottleneck. So what's-his-face is a huge bottleneck for production. All he can really do right now is start to get QP once he actually does get QP, and use that to build up more Gate Tech. And yeah, this attack coming in from the north as well from what's-his-face won't be super effective, unfortunately. Tornads will be able to deal enough damage to take care of the lattice infantry, but Stakhanov has all the time in the world and then some to take care of this. Once again with a Chronoporter, but also just in general, he has plenty of units, he has plenty of resources, and he's seeing this coming well enough in advance that he won't have much of a problem dealing with it. However, he is mostly just focused on building up what he can. Getting his forces set up and getting everything built in place. And it looks like we have another pause, no, just teleporting over. So yeah, just teleporting his forces over to deal with this. And it looks like here we're probably getting a Chronoport again. And let's see, it looks like... Are we getting a Chronoport? No, we're not. We're just getting some more production. So Stakhanov is still building up more near the pass, keeping his frigate going in that base, and I'm a bit surprised with all this pausing he is not Chronoporting, because most of the time when a player pauses, they're going to be doing Chronoporting. And I'm a bit surprised he hasn't done that yet, because that would just seal the deal. But like I said, the main base has been largely destroyed for what's-his-face. His natural expansion is, or not really natural, his middle expansion, no importers yet, and back when he is the 1627 mark, still no importers. The attack coming in is dealing a lot of damage though. He's more focused on microing this attack than he is on building up his importers. And another factory coming in the north, natural expansion. A marine coming back to the main base, or the new main base, effectively, in the middle of the map, and not really do too much, like I said. Really now needs more importers. That's the most important thing right now. Stakhanov has plenty of units, tons of Martanks, not a great position for the macrofab, mind you. A teleporter right here would be welcome, or a slingshot, to get his units out of there. And it looks like, yes, he is going to be sending back some units, or double-checking when he's going to be sending those units to. And it looks like he is trying to Chronoport them back. Surprised he keeps swapping into... Oh, there we go. Okay, now he is... Did something bork? Anyway, it looks like he tried to Chronoport back and wasn't able to, but he will be able to pretty soon, I'm sure. Or at least teleport away. And once this happens, like I said, I'm a bit surprised I haven't seen more Chronoporting from him, given that he looks like he's Chronoporting a lot. Ah, here we go. Now there's the Chronoport I was looking for. And yeah, it looks like he is trying to Chronoport these Mars back, but he wasn't in range of the Chronoporter. Now he is. So once that occurs, once we see the Chronoport departure happen, it'll actually be a much better Chronoport departure, and these Mars will be of much more use in the past. So once that happens, we'll see the Martanks being highly effective, jumping back, and will be teleporting into attacking this north expansion. So the north expansion will be incredibly powerful. Sorry, will have to be incredibly powerful to get rid of these Martanks, because these Martanks, oh boy, they're very powerful artillery units. And they are incredibly threatening. So this red time wave carrying the attack that came in from the Martanks, dealing a ton of damage to this base. The Tornad is going to be the biggest threat, because that is a bomber. Martanks are horrible, horrible against air. Tornads are great against ground, great bomber units. So really, a couple more frigates being sent back to that same time to be supporting that attack would be a great idea. What's-his-face, on the other hand, back when he is now having to deal with the frigate attacking the macrofab, and also having to deal with the fact that Stakhanov has excellent map control at this point. But he does have this north expansion to himself. So Stakhanov has lost his north middle expansion. But of course, so has what's-his-face once this red time wave comes along. So what's-his-face definitely living on borrowed time right now, and Stakhanov was doing a very good job of making sure that that credit is trying to be revoked, because right now that is going to be a horribly, horribly stretched metaphor. A slingshot near the main base of what's-his-face, or old main base of what's-his-face, and jumping back into the imploded pass to double check what's going on. It looks like Stakhanov is prepping another chronoport. Likely for these frigates, but not really doing too much of them yet. They're not close enough to the chronoport gate. I got close to the chronoport gate, and then he'll be able to chronoport them. And he will have enough C to do it, but yes, he's getting everything in place to chronoport, and we should be seeing a chronoport very shortly. Pausing, and the cost should be paid. Man, it better be paid soon, because he's running out of chrono energy to do it. And no, he has got to fast forward a bit more to actually be able to get this right. And no, it's not going to be enough chrono energy. No, it's... Oh, he's out of chrono energy. Shoot. Okay, so he's run out of chrono energy. He has to get enough to actually be able to chronoport all this stuff back. He's right in the unplayable pass and not being able to do much with it. So what's-his-face, on the other hand, is... However, on the other hand, going to be able to actually... Well, not do much. He's lost his main... He's lost, like I said, his base to Mar tanks. They were destroyed ultimately. And I will just go and review that. So the Mar tanks did come in and start dealing damage from both sides. And just review that and fast forward. So, fast motion replay. See that the Macrobab has been destroyed. The turrets were also destroyed. And like I said, the Tornads, definitely the biggest enemy of this. Mechs not really doing too much, but of course they wouldn't. They're anti-air units. The Tornads, on the other hand, are going to... And the Lancers, of course, as well. But mostly the Tornad. Taking care of one Mar. Second Mar is going to go down very shortly. It's a 1712 mark. This is when the Mar attack originally happened. The chronoported one. And now, the last Mar, you're going to be able to deal with this factory here. While back at this time, this is also when Stakhanov's base was destroyed, so Mar tanks getting a lot of damage in here and dealing a lot of damage to the factory. So back in the playable past, we see that what's-his-face has managed to get rid of that Mar tank. That last Mar tank saved one of his factories, but he's still in a terrible spot. No importers, one Marine, really should be building more importers, and factories so we can get mechs, but that's about it. While Stakhanov is not really building as much, not chronoporting as much as he could be, not building as much as he could be, has 3 factories, not really using them too much from the looks of it. His point of view, no, he is not using them too much. He has gotten a lot of ATHCs though, and he does have a good position in the map, but he doesn't have a lot of this being used. His frigates, MFB, and Lancer group coming back near the chronoporter should be chronoporting back, I would imagine, but it doesn't look like he's going to be. He only has 4 orders left, so he wouldn't be able to chronoport the entire army as it is. And like I said, these Mar tanks really need to get a slingshot right next to them so they can get out of here because they're in a bad spot. Really too tight of a spot for that Macrofab. And the other Macrofab for what's-his-face in his main base has been destroyed. So what's-his-face's main base has been completely cleared of what's-his-face. All traces of what's-his-face have been removed. And what's-his-face is no more in that base. However, his other bases, his North Natural, and actually, you know what? Speaking of what I was mentioning before about sharing the base, well, see, this is what happens, because the backdoor expansion here and the main expansion are being shared, but not for very long. Stakhanov is clearly not wanting to have that be a lasting state of affairs. So, dealing with the North Natural expansion, and that will be a very short term dealing with. So at this point, mechs are the only way for importers or armies to be built, which is going to be difficult and expensive for what's-his-face, but he has plenty of resources in reserve, so really not much to worry about. And on the other hand, the mobile field base is coming in and is going to be a, well, another healer for Stakhanov. At this point, he has plenty of Blackbirds and plenty of MFBs, so he has more than enough healing going on. Really, at this point, all he needs to do is figure out where what's-his-face still is and deal with that. Really, it's clean up right now, and what's-his-face has not been building himself up to actually heal up. He is getting more mechs, he is getting more units, and he has stuff to rebuild with, but he's not making as much use of it as he could be. I'm not really sure what he's doing right now, though. Oh, here we are. Deploying mech. So he is getting mechs, he is... Really should be getting importers, really should be getting armories, not doing that, I don't know why. But I do know that Stakhanov is in a great position right now. And it looks like we see, yes, there is still the attack on the main base. So the main base, Stakhanov is really focused on getting that main base, even though the main base has been leveled a long time ago. So it looks like that main base is no longer for whatever reason, Stakhanov has decided to continue attacking it. Grouping all his units there actually is not a bad idea, though, because it would mean that we'll be able to have a quick regroup for all his units. He will be able to set them all from there to the north expansion, all in one go. Finish it all up, just sweep around the north and completely finish off what's-his-face. But both players really aren't playing as optimally as they could be. What's-his-face isn't really doing anything at all, actually. I'm a bit curious about that. But Stakhanov is definitely doing something. He just isn't really doing enough. So I'm afraid that Stakhanov seems to be a bit afraid of actually attacking. I don't know why this is going through, and yeah, it's... So apparently the replay has gotten some corruption issues. Oh, not again. Okay, this is bad. Okay, anyway, so what actually happened is that Stakhanov ended up winning. Apparently at the point where the frigates came in, he actually pushed in and won. So that would be the game. And I don't know why that happened again. This is really a pain in the ass. But anyway. So, Stakhanov apparently had won, and that is going to be... Well, that's going to be game 2, basically. So, yay! Stakhanov won. I guess that's good. I apologize it wasn't quite as entertaining as it could have been. But I'm afraid there are still some kinks being worked out with the replay system for some reason, and we're going to have to just live with that. However, it is good to know that Stakhanov did win, so we do have at least an accurate result at the end, and that will be, like I said, game 2. So just going to end that, because frankly it's not going anywhere. And that is... So game 2. So Stakhanov won Shield Gasket, and also Felsic Inferno. So Stakhanov won 2-0. So that's 2-0 so far. Yeah, 2-0 so far, and that will be our second series. Well, please stay tuned. We're gonna have a 4th series, and then that was sorry, not 4th series, a 3rd series. The 4th series, of course, not happening because the first game series was a forfeiture. So stay tuned. We'll be coming back shortly, and if you don't stay tuned, have a good night. If you do stay tuned, next series will be hopefully more interesting than corrupted replays. Thank you for watching so far, and we'll be back